Hello and good evening for this Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. We have just finished watching the 7th episode of Survivor 48 titled Survivor Smack Talk, but we're just getting started here on Super Mader Brothers Podcast, a live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or you might be listening to us on audio version or into the future. I'm Dave Mader here on the channel, and once again joined with Jaemeel Robinson.
Salush.
Becky Robinson.
Hey, hey.
And the bearded one himself, Josh Foster.
Heyo.
Heyo. And we are going to talk all about this episode for the next hour, break down this double eviction, if you will. No, it's a tribal, a double torch snuffing here in the Survivor 48 tribe. You know, just when they get them all merged together, everybody, we're going to split them into two tribes again. But there's still one tribe. It's just to get back to your old ways, and two vote outs here. Spoilers if you've not seen the episode yet, but Cedric and Say, both formerly of the Vula tribe, are out of this game. And you know,
there's only one Vula left.
There's only one Vula left. It's Mary, and she's not looking back. She's not cried over any of her former Vulas. I can tell you that much. Okay, let's get around to the opinions of the episode. Maybe with you, Becky, first. Did you enjoy the episode tonight?
I did. I liked the challenge. I thought it was a pretty interesting episode. It went through pretty quick too. There were some of my favorites that we didn't get to see tonight, or too much of them anyways. Star wasn't really in it much. And we didn't hear back from Mary much this one. It was a lot about like Mitch and Cedric and Say. It was their episode, I think.
It was their episode. They were on the bottom, and it kind of led to that basically being the result of the episode as well. Jaemeel, over to you next. Was this? Were you pleased with the outcome of these votes?
Well, first off, I would like to say that while watching this episode, I was like, this is a Foster episode. And I could just imagine Foster just, living his best life, watching this, and is like, yes, Survivor. Yes, he's like Rick James listening to Eddie Murphy performing Party All the Time, and just like more of this. And for that, I'm always happy to see Foster happy. So I love this episode for that. Loved it for it. This episode had a lot of repositioning of opinions and positioning for a lot of the different players. People who we previously thought were not so steady seemed a lot more steady, and individuals who we thought were on shaky ground kind of, I think, have like a second wind. So
yeah.
I'll just be quick because it's initial thoughts. Individuals like David, Tyler, Mitch, Joe, Star, and even, was it Chrissy? Those individuals, I had a certain opinion about them, and things changed in this episode.
Multiple players, your opinion of them are different after the results of this episode.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Foster, now to you. How did you feel about the result of the episode? And looking forward from here, how are you feeling about the rest of the game playing out?
You know what? First of all, Jaemeel, I was happy that I can finally sleep at peace tonight, knowing that Say is gone, finally. And she's not on the jury. Because as she stated at the beginning of the episode, saying, everyone's obsessed with me. No, they're obsessed with, letting you know they don't want you there, first of all. And we saw early on, like, both Say and Cedric were the deterrents for early vote outs that shouldn't have happened. Like, they shouldn't have been around as long as they were. Like, you should have had Justin and the first one, which was Stephanie. Like, they should have been around longer than them, right? But due to Cedric and Say, they were voted out before then. And no, but I was really happy with the fact that they had the double vote. I like that. And it's kind of a staple for them now every season to have this kind of setup. And I'm just looking at the what's it called, the draft here. There was a little mistake, so I was OCD.
Yeah, what happened to Team Foster tonight? Were you?
Well, they're still alive and well. I noticed that
both
David
your
was
players
first
of
out with
Eva
should have been
and
Stephanie, so yeah, I'm still kicking it for now. Like Mitch and Eva, I don't know if they're gonna win it, but I think
targets.
I'm just looking at it right now. I'm the only team with both players still in. Actually, that I just realized that.
Yeah, but Jameel's got Camilla.
Oh yeah.
You only need one person to
I
win.
definitely know the strongest people, but it was. But like,
don't forget about Kyle.
I feel like this two vote outs episode is definitely now. I feel like a staple almost for them. It's a given every season that they're going to have this, and it should be expected around the merge when they're going into the jury, because it seems the most significant where the bottom one does not go to the jury and the winner does. And then obviously there was the reward as well added on top.
Yeah, did you like them splitting them into two groups tonight?
I did. Like it's still like going, like the last one was 13, right? And they had a vote, right, just to make the merge, right? And I'm pretty sure
Correct.
we've seen before, like they've had 13, and it was like a 7-6 split, right, where they had two tribals, right? So it's.
Are we afraid to have 12 people voting?
No, I think that what they're trying to do is, like, again, like if there's no medical, like they got to be prepared for contingencies, right? So if there's no medical evacs, which hasn't been any this season, knock on wood, that it hasn't exactly. Jaemeel, thank you. Knock on wood. Actually, I have to knock on, as you see close up my beard. They once again, like, I feel like this double vote out episode is now a staple for Here to Stay, and I like it because it just separates them, and it takes away from the large tribe groupings that go into the merge, like Siva and Logi, even though neither of them got hurt for this vote out.
Do you worry about like groupthink, kind of not creating a very dynamic vote off, and by having it in smaller groups, then there's more situations where people are more uncomfortable and less secure in their numbers?
I think it depends on season to season. Like this one, it was kind of both. What was it? Vula. The original Vulas were voted out, right? And there was one that had Mary as well, and Shaheen was the odd man out in that one, in terms of the tribes, right? But we've seen in the past, I can't remember if it was last season or the season before, where it was like 5 of the 6 were on the one tribe, and like one, you know what I mean? Like there was one straggler on the one tribe of, you know what I mean? So it was like, well, we got to take them out because it takes a number off their tribe, right? So right. I feel like and that wasn't how this went. It was more so just bottom of the totem pole, right? So it's dependent, I feel like, on the tribe and season.
This basically led also to this result of like, who do we want not to be on the jury? If we have an option here of excluding at least one player from the jury, who would it be? And Say was similar, like at the top of everyone's list. This is a unanimous vote where her vote is blocked as well, where she can't even vote for anybody else. They made damn sure she wasn't making the jury with them. This episode is very much about Say and her perceived how they feel. Everyone's obsessed with her. I feel like
I was thinking a lot about, and you said it a lot, Dave, in the past, and Jaemeel, you said it as well, about when the jury is together at Ponderosa, right? And how they have all that time to spend together and talk. And right. it just kept coming back to me tonight, because out of all, even if you put both tribes together, like Say was by far the one that would be the most disruptive with those conversations, right? And it just goes back to like how they should be separated when they're a jury and only together when they're for tribals, because it feels like it was so apparent tonight, especially that they are worried about them talking to each other, which Say would have been a deterrent for that.
Yeah, I think I agree because I feel like the jury is already made up their mind largely by the time they get to the final tribal. In my mind, that's how it's felt like for the last few years, at least. And I don't feel like these final answer periods really usually change things unless there's two really sort of unlikable people in the end.
I think it was
Polarizing.
the Gabler one that comes
Polarizing
to mind.
Well, do you,
Hmm?
okay, I'll go.
I'm good, I'm good.
Do you feel that if they, as part of the Ponderosa experience, that they're not allowed to talk game, which I know that would mean that they would have to be recorded the entire time.
Or they'd have to have a chaperone all the time.
Yeah, they can't talk about game,
And
at
there'd be
all.
there's no sex at the Ponderosa then. Basically, if there was anyway. I don't know if there was.
God forbid, Dave. Oh my
It's a
goodness.
champagne room. None.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you could have a chaperone, but sometimes what if, like, two contestants, decide, oh, we're going to get, romantic. And then the chaperone's like, how do I know you're not going to talk game in the pillow talk, right? Like, we have to make sure. So none of that.
No, I just feel like no, you could.
Or you just sequester them. That's probably the easier thing.
Yeah, I think you just separate. You don't have them in the same you don't even the same location almost. It's like, or even if you have like a big enough resort where they're not going to run into each other. I don't know. Like it just seems.
But
I
there's
just,
just
I just feel I would rather have it so because Cedric is now joining the jury on day 15. The final vote out will be on day 26. So for the next 11 days, Cedric's going to be at Ponderosa. That is a damn long time to be with any group of people, right?
What is Ponderosa? So, okay, Ponderosa is once people get to the jury, even before the jury technically. So they have two Ponderosas. So as people get voted out, it's kind of like the
Halfway house.
purgatory, where they're casted out, and then it's like they go and get their tests to check how they're doing. They get food. Doctors oversee them, and then they're gone for the pre-jury type of situation. And then I usually they purge everyone. I think up to just before jury, and then all those people go home in one trip, and then you have the actual jury start, and they're all on kind of like a resort. They have their own rooms. They get cleaned up. They get washed. They get clothes, and they're fed. And it's what they do in between tribals. So sometimes people have written songs. They just lounge about. There's excursions into town. So Ponderosa is just like a wayward place for them to stay in between jury and before final tribal.
Wow.
They used to show clips.
I was to say, do they show clips of?
Yeah.
They used to, and it was much better. At least you had more of an idea what to expect in the final tribal in some ways, which I think was informative. And you also got to see them reflect on their games a little bit and why they got voted out, more so than you do in those short clips after the real vote outs, which I don't think they've always had enough time to process everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Right. And so the Ponderosa clips used to be good, but then they took it away, Jaemeel.
Yeah.
Why? Why did they do that?
I think because it was giving too much away. So what would happen is Ponderosa. So let's say on Wednesday, a person will get voted out, and then usually Thursday, usually in the evening time, they'll release the Ponderosa episode for the person who got voted off in jury, and you kind of get the resolution of their story. And just imagine if, let's say made the jury, right, and she was voted out. Right, and then her Ponderosa video shows her being very reflective and very calm and clear-minded and not non-vindictive. Then people would be disappointed in terms of what she appears to be in final tribal, because they're expecting Say's this wild card, and she's gonna throw everyone, she's gonna create chaos. And then you see, hi guys, I'm not mad at anyone, but I think all of you played a great game. My question is for you, Tyler. And then she gives like a very run-of-the-mill question. It's like, that seems boring, right? And people would know ahead of time due to Ponderosa. So by eliminating Ponderosa, the jury is more of a mystery, a little bit of mystery and where their thoughts are.
But like it's the mystery is over in the first 5 minutes of the final episode in some ways for me, because you can almost tell right away.
But they've made it to that point, though, at the very least. Right?
Well, the surprise is not that grand when you get there. I think you'd rather have some more background, and then there's more excitement. It's kind of like when you have the feeds in Big Brother, right? Where you have that more of that behind the scenes idea, and then, well, if this happens in the double eviction, then you know this is really what will happen, more so than what might be the narrative on the show so far.
Dave, you say that.
I do.
How much of the feeds did you watch?
I don't. I get the updates. I read the wikis.
Yeah.
So that's how I've always been.
I was the feed correspondent.
Yeah, that Jameel's more keeps up with that stuff, and
Okay.
I'm more of a casual TV analyst. Coming at it from that. Foster, there's not enough people doing that. Like, there's too many of these live feeders. They're so deep, in the show that they can't just enjoy it. Sometimes it's just a wacky thing.
Dave is the representative of the common man.
I represent the common. I'm the Charlie Brown here.
Yeah.
It almost seems like the way that they have Ponderosa set up, it's twofold for the production. It's one, it's more predictable for them in terms of it, where they know things are going to go, and then they can drive the edits. And well, obviously it's edited afterwards, right? But they can essentially go, understand where this is going. But also too that, the fact that they're talking with each other and then they bring something to the table and this and that, it's not like, it's almost like two things need to happen, because part of it also too is just like, well, so they're alone for 11 days. Well, no, right? Like what they have to, like, what they could do, like, here's the thing, like, it's done so early, and the taping, the final and all that is done there. Like, there's not like it's a reveal like after the show's aired, that they could essentially have, and they do this in the challenge where they actually allow you to call home whenever you want, basically, right? I'm not saying during Survivor, but at least you sign, like, get an NDA signed by whoever you get, like, your contact of, your sister, cousin, whatever, mother, whatever, right? Dad, whatever, right? And so you have that connection. You don't talk about the game. You could talk about it, but only from what you've experienced, right? Just from, obviously. Anyways, there's a better way to go about this, because, like you say, Dave, they already have a decision made. They have these conversations, and if you have one or two or three people with a stronger voice, and they're saying, let's do this for these reasons, and they're very, like, strong. It's like almost like a legit jury, like when you're in trial at a court. Right, like, they have the conversations together. They have to be on the same side, right? Like, it's, like, we've seen split votes in the past with the jury, but it just seems like it's not individual. Like you said, the questions don't matter, which usually should come from the individual rather than as a collective.
I feel like there should be a prosecutor at least at the final tribal who's like saying, no, like, this person doesn't deserve to win because of this, this, and this.
Can it be Southern and be twinning?
Yes.
I do declare Tyler is bona fide, and he should be the lone survivor. And I will tell you through a journey. I will spread a journey for you. I'll weave a tale for you.
Yes.
I think that would be awesome.
Me too. I would be down with that as well. Let's talk about this episode a little bit. So this, we'll get to the fate. Well, should we? We'll get to the fate of Say and Cedric, of course, here. But, and this episode's really about them. They're all over this episode. Okay, so this comes off here where the Charity is voted out. She's the first member of the original Orange Siva group to be eliminated. No, that's not them. Them. Here's back the Siva tribe. So Charity got voted out last episode, and Mitch voted for Say, and he's really upset to start this episode off because he feels like he's on the wrong side of the vote. He doesn't like his position in the game so much. So he goes to Say, and says, she seems to be okay with Mitch, but she's like, I want him out now. I don't trust him. And I'm like, well, that's, and I get that that's the natural reaction. And Say is kind of
who doesn't she want out?
Yeah.
Well, technically, everyone should want everyone out, with the exception of them, so that they can win.
Say's gonna get everybody out. That's her plan. She's not here to make friends. So
she's there to make money.
She's there to make money, but she doesn't really understand that she has to, like, work with people to play this game. That's
Yeah.
kind of like the thing with Say. Say wasn't, and Say's learning. I think still. Say's got a journey to go on. If I had to predict,
She
maybe
needs
that
to
was,
go to
back to
Island
50,
and
I'll
maybe
tell you
come
that
back
right.
as a different person.
yeah.
She needs
Uh,
Exile Island.
Oh,
Her, what, Becky, what did you think of her misdirector? Because she was at the vote on Cedric in the previous tribal, and she used cursive writing to disguise herself from Cedric, who had been to every tribal with her pretty much up until that point. And he's like, I have never seen that penmanship before, but
poor Cedric.
I think it was a female.
Yeah, I don't know if is that because it was cursive and he's like, oh, it must be, but like, I don't know. I think like for him to not have that kind of warning flag up that it could possibly be Say that's gonna vote because she did to him last time, so he's totally oblivious to the fact that it was Say again. He had that inclination of thinking at the end where he's like maybe, but no, and I'm like why wouldn't it be? So, but I just, like, again, it's just Say, like, her odd way of kind of going about things, thinking that, like, everyone is just so obsessed with her and it's, like, all about her and, oh, but if I do this, I'll throw them off kind of thing. So, yeah, it was an interesting play
That's
by
better.
her. Yeah. Oh, was I echoing?
You were a little like, yeah,
Busy?
like you were in a room with bouncing sound a little bit more. I don't know how to
Oh.
but compared to Jaemeel, but you can turn her up actually, Jaemeel, if you're on a control there.
Oh. Yeah, I like turned it down. Also, it's like, oh,
That's
noise
better.
is on.
Yeah.
There was like a buzzing, but in my headphones, but we're
Yeah.
good.
Well, yeah, that's better audio. Sorry. Yeah, it wasn't like I couldn't hear you before. It was just more of
Buzz sound.
just you were in a room.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my take on Say and Cedric. I just think that she's playing the game and he was kind of oblivious to it. But yeah.
Foster, we also had this whole scene here with Mitch and Joe, where Mitch was all feeling blindsided, and he's talking to Joe at the well. He's like, I feel like I could trust Joe, and Joe's like, man, we got to get Mitch out. The next chance we get.
Yeah, well, Mitch is kind of too trusting, and he's also proven in the group challenges that he's competitive, like he's got game, right, in a sense, right? So that doesn't really necessarily help him with the, under the radar thing. Like I was talking when I was at my neighbors tonight watching the episode, and I said to them, I was just like, you got to be like in that, you got to kind of be low key until like top 6 almost. You got to always have that 1 or 2 people ahead of you that shine brighter than you throughout the season, right? Like you can't or what's the saying? Like you can't fly too close to the sun.
No,
right?
That's the same.
Chris.
So it's like, so Mitch has shown with his ability to compete, right? He's shown with his ability to have a social game.
He was mailman Mitch.
Yeah.
And even though he's friendly and he's really once again, like there's a lot of these players will they like the person, but the game, like they separate the game from the person very easily in terms of, well, it's nice to be around them, but they are a bigger threat to me in the long run because of this, and this. And then also too, I'm noticing a lot is they have a story to tell, right? Which we see at Tribal later on with Chrissy talking about it, which we'll get to.
Yeah. I just found it kind of interesting too, like Joe's reaction to Mitch. I think we mentioned it a bit earlier, but the idea that, oh, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I just was finishing your thought, I guess, that Joe was like, yeah, he's a little too likable. I think we have to get him out now, and this is no good. Like, if he gets to the end, I'd vote for him. That means we got to get rid of him. Jaemeel, is that the always the right attitude?
Here comes the buzzing again.
Yeah.
Now.
Well, the buzzing's turning up, or
really?
It's getting a little loud.
Okay. Anyways,
anyway,
that's fun. Just doing troubleshooting on the fly. Okay. Okay. This came up as an issue that I found. If people don't know, welcome to our show. Is that I'm usually online, on the interwebs, trying to get a sense of what people are thinking about, the different characters on the show. And please note, folks, they are characters. We are not seeing their true selves. We're seeing a segment of their time on the island that's presented to create a narrative. So it's not really them. Joe isn't necessarily just what we see. He could be better. He could be worse, right? But this is the Joe that we see that is being presented as the narrative. That being said, what we've seen is that a lot of people are thinking that Joe is pure or very good, right? And and there's other people who are manipulating and lie are the bad people. That isn't the case. Joe isn't one dimensional. We might see only a part of his game, but this episode showed us that Joe isn't just thinking about being good to win. Joe wants to win, right? And he feels that the best way is to play a game where it's a lot of the strong people and he can win out. Because sure, David is built like a friggin' Adonis, but at the same time, we do not know if a puzzle comes in front of Dave and it's Dave versus Joe in a puzzle. I have a stronger belief that Joe is going to be able to figure things out before David, right? And not
That's
every
possible.
challenge is going to be physical. So it is an absolute good strategy in terms of I am the smartest strong person in the game, so therefore I would only want strong people there because I could win.
I'm king of kings. There's,
Yeah,
I'm okay to bring these other elites with me because I am the best of the best. Foster, is that a good strategy for the competitors or someone like Joe?
Well, I feel like the way that because I as we mentioned kind of last week, it's been a while since we've had this potential for a challenge, winner, right? It's usually someone who's more usually it gets to a point where it's the more strategic people kind of band together and pick them off one by one, right? And it's been a while. It's part also due to the way that they've given the cast as a whole. But what we've seen in the past is there's less of these stronger type competitors, and they get along as well, right? We've seen a lot of the brains go out early, which was you look at Bianca and Thomas, Chastity was not superb, but she was a very big thinker, right? There was in the past there was a lot of Justin. Yeah, he was a little. I think I feel like he didn't get his time. He was very he kind of was riding low, like I've said. But sometimes you just ride too low, and you get picked off, kind of thing, right? Or but again, I just feel like there hasn't been this many physically strong competitors in the game at once, and they're also at a point where they're all on the same side. For now, it seems like, right? Whether that goes to the end remains to be seen. I feel like Kyle and Camilla, as long as they can kind of whatever you want to call it, fly under the radar as a grouping. They seem like the most destined to break it up, despite them talking last week about David overthinking things in here and there, as we've seen before with the way that they perceive the next episode. The narrative is never that case. They perceived that they were gonna blindside Shahid tonight. Well, it was a clean sweep on Cedric.
Well, what confuses me about that too is Jaemeel, why do you think that Camilla is not considered part of that strong person alliance that Kyle is included with?
because she's not strong.
She's mentally strong. She'd be good puzzles.
Sure, but that's not what they're qualifying as strong. In this case, Camilla reminds me of Sophie and I can absolutely see her path to win, because she was with Coach Sophie and who was the other dude? It was the plain face lawyer dude.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, when Coach made it to the final, what was it?
Yeah.
4. He voted out Aussie and the 4, and then he didn't. And they made the final 3, and then didn't get the win. I think, right?
Yeah, it was Coach Sophie and the other dude. And I think Tyler is absolutely other dude and Camilla is Sophie. I think that it's going to be revealed that she was having the right conversation. She never rubbed people the wrong way, and she directed Tyler, who was presented as a major character. Kyle, look at him. I don't. I'm already yada yadaing the dude already.
It was
Oh, I'm here for you. I'm here. I got your back, Jaemeel. Don't worry. I'm back checking for you.
Well, that was quite the salute there. Okay, so let's get to the challenge of it all. And then, so Becky,
Foster, it's your time.
What?
It's the challenge. You said the challenge, so I'm like, Foster, it's your time.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
But yes,
Let me
Dave,
sit up straight
throw
for
it
this.
to Becky though.
Let me get my full scroll of notes out here. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we're gonna get to the challenge. I was gonna start with you, Becky. And how did you feel about this challenge as a whole, where they had to grip onto the thing and hold it so that it, I don't know if you had seen this particular challenge before, where the bucket drops on the plate to break it, and once that happens, you're out. You have to twist it. And
I hadn't seen that one. I don't think. I mean, it's probably it's probably happened before. My concern with it being up, it's mostly upper body.
Sorry.
Oops.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Men tend to have more of an advantage when it comes to stuff like that because the upper body strength is just so much more than women typically, right? As seen with Dave through that entire challenge.
Dave didn't seem like it was that hard for him. He seemed like he was so much ahead of everybody else in a lot of ways. Of course, Joe and him went almost an hour here.
Yeah.
But you're,
yeah. But Eva did excellent too in that challenge. Like good on her. She lasted like 25 minutes or something like that.
She did. Eva did the best of the women, and she came like maybe second or third in her group, which was the Joe group that lost, I guess, because one group gets food and one group does not, depending on which champion. Now, it doesn't have to be that there's one strong person in one group and one strong person in the other group. Often it doesn't work out like that. Often like the final two are on the same team. But not this time. It kind of was more dramatic in terms of the show, I thought. But, Foster, do you like this particular immunity challenge? I'm sure, I know we've seen this before. Is it still exciting for you?
Well, first of all, speaking of David, I think this was definitely, like we saw, I'm trying to remember exactly who, it was the Swifty guy who said he was practicing the grip strength, right? I think it was a couple seasons ago. I can't remember his name. I don't know if Jaemeel or Becky wouldn't remember, but Jaemeel remembers. But he was the guy that was always quoting the Taylor Swift songs, whatever. And he said he was doing the grip strength test for like 2 years or whatever, right? And that was the challenge or whatever that he was going. And
what was that?
Was that you?
That was me accidentally. Sorry.
You never used that one before.
My time is up, guys. Sorry, my speech has gone too.
That was good.
But with David, though, it seemed like this was definitely related to his job, right? As a stunt performer, right? I don't know, like obviously I don't know exactly what he does, but it feels like with stunts, any kind of physical ability and including grip strength would be very important to have. Because he could be dangling, he could be, doing like a parkour, you know what I mean? Like he could be doing a bunch of different things, right? So, this seemed like something was up his alley. Joe was just obviously just the dad strength it looked like. Ava was just, she's just proving time and time again she's the strongest woman there. But no, I like this challenge because as much as it is a staple and it's what we always see, it's dependent on the competitor because it's based on their body weight, right? Pre-game body
Yeah,
weight.
the amount of water in the bucket was based on your a certain percentage of your pre-game body weight.
So it's the sand and it's like 25% pre-game body
Sand.
weight, right? And what's nice about that is that everybody is in the same boat of like body weight ratio in a sense for their own personal self. So it's a matter of more so your grip strength and your strength in general. But it's not like everyone has the same difficulty in terms of weight.
Does that mean that David's bucket is probably heavier than most because he's one of the heavier people, isn't he? Technically,
well, muscle weighs more than fat, right? But like it doesn't look like David or Joe, like they're not very. It doesn't look like they're tall. Like Kyle's taller than them, right? But like Joe probably carries
leaner.
more weight, leaner. But muscle weighs more than fat, right? But Joe was bigger going in than David from what I saw. Like they're at the point now where they've lost all their water weight by far.
Yeah.
Like it was by far, right? And that's why David seems so like even more cut. But I would think that the buckets would have been similar to very similar between Joe and David. David just looked like it was a cakewalk because he just literally the way he was talking, like he was just basically playing mental games with everyone.
I wish they would.
Yeah.
I kind of wish they would tell us the weight of the respective buckets just so we have a sense of that. But I guess they would have to tell us what their weights are.
It's one of two things. Well, then, yeah, but if you can't, then you reveal the weight of the woman, though, right? And the man sometimes is, like I'm not trying to,
To be fair, I think Cedric was a little concerned about how much people thought he weigh, or how much he can hold up.
Some can be like that. So either you do that, or you don't reveal the percentage of how much of the body weight is, and you just list the weight, right? So it's like you can't do both percentage because you can do the math just times 4. But if you just say, okay, this is the weight of each of them, based on the percentage of their body weight, and we're not going to tell you, it's obviously still indicative, but again, like it'd be nice to know what they're carrying, though, Dave. That's for sure.
What happened to Cedric here? Why is he out in 20 seconds?
Because he's a Chumbawamba. No, I'm kidding.
Jaemeel, do you concur that he's a Chumbawamba?
You can answer for me.
Oh, I was just gonna say I think like this is pretty like in line with what we've seen of Cedric from previous challenges. I mean, he's had upper body strength issues right from the jump with almost all of the challenges that present. Anything where he has to hold his own, he's not good.
Yeah. So why vote him out?
Easy vote. We're still at the easy votes right now.
Still doing easy votes.
But he's on trial.
Say is the obvious vote. Cedric was the easy vote.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't want to skip too far ahead to the final tribals of it all, but ultimately, my feeling on this episode was, if these strong people like David and Kyle, etc., are working together, then the people who are not in that group are, would be smart to form some kind of coalition, some kind of resistance, some kind of counter group. Say and Cedric need each other, but here they don't trust each other. Mitch, as well as I don't know, like even Camilla. You could, all these players could form together and kind of try to work against these strong people. But I feel like this is a Big Brother season a little bit, where the strong people kind of intimidate the weaker people, and they kind of end up fighting each other. This is kind of a Big Brother play out.
You gotta break it down, Dave, right? Like Camilla's with Kyle. So she's in her own right safe. Right? Mitch thought again 2 times in a row he was on the wrong side of the vote, right? So he was just not perceiving the way that the game was going in terms of groupings, right?
Yeah.
What about Chrissy?
Well, Chrissy, I was gonna get to her, Dave, but thank you. Chrissy just kind of seems like her and Star are more floaters. They don't seem very strategic. Like Chrissy was kind of outgoing with the fact about her potential to win about how her path to win the game tonight, which doesn't seem very realistic and really hurt her chances. And we'll get to that more when we talk about the tribal. But, and then also say Cedric and Mary have never really trusted each other, even when they were briefly forced to for 5 minutes, before the tribes split. And so there wasn't really that kind of 2 or 3 or 4 people that were like, we need to bring these 2 or 3 others in and we need to go against these people, right? Because, like Mitch was, thought he was comfortable with Chastity and, he was comfortable with other people. Like he wasn't a bottom vote, right? And, and once again, there wasn't a common perception amongst the less strong, let's say, political, to try to be nice about it, that they were essentially going to be picked off one by one.
Right. Okay. But how much of this do you think came down to the dynamics of who ended up on what side of this? So we had the orange group, which we had Joe in it, also Star, Mitch, Christy was in this group, Eva and Say. Right. And, so if Say had been in either group, would she have been voted out?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The other group was Cedric, Shaheen, Kyle, Mary, David, and Camilla. Now,
Mary's the other one. Mary feels now that what she's gone through, she feels protected by the stronger. Like she's kind of using them as a shield, But again, like it's just the only one that was like this. You could sort of see something with Shaheen, but what in reality was that, they were basically like, well, if we vote out Shaheen, we go back to Joe and Ava, they're not going to trust us, right? And there's going to be like a war broken out, right? And I feel like the same was on the other side with the other group where, like Ava and Joe are this kind of duo vote, if you want to call it. Maybe they don't see it that way, but they are. And if someone like it's again, I just feel like the bottom people didn't realize early enough that we need to have enough to start picking them off, kind of thing, right? The only people that have done that are Camilla and Kyle when they had to use their idol to get Thomas out. That was the only real time where they kind of came to their senses and like, we need a plan to turn the tables.
Okay.
So I'm going to step in there. Sorry for the buzz.
Yeah. It's fading away now.
Fade away.
It only happens when you click on, I think.
Sorry. Camilla and Kyle. I just want to say that affirmation that I'm getting it right.
K and K.
K and K.
K
and K's Survivor Factory.
I'm proving Jameel's corrected efforts.
Thank you. I think that they're going about it in terms of their duo the right way. One, no one has clocked their relationship. So that's one thing. If you have this strong group, and they're able to see the different cracks within that strong group, which is obviously Shaheen, right?
Yeah.
Obviously David, you're seeing the cracks in there, right? Now, once those two are in shaky grounds, Joe, Ava, that foursome doesn't seem really that scary to begin with, right? Especially with the amount of elements they're in, because all that needs to happen is a civil war. And once that civil war happens, it's not going to be 2-on-2. It's going to be two versus whoever they can pick up. And Tyler being the fifth person in that group, keeping Camilla around gives them a lot of power to
Tyler?
Sorry, Kyle.
Kyle.
Right? I was doing so well. Seems like they are in the driver's seat to be able to choose exactly which side they want to proceed with, right? Star is one person. Chrissy is one person. Mitch is one person.
Yeah,
Mary,
they're not. Why aren't they forming an alliance?
Because they right now look at the landscape, and now it's 4 people against what? 5?
Right.
now.
That's what an alliance is. You have the numbers, and then you vote out these other people.
But no one wants to start it, or we are not seeing this actually happening. The story right now is the strong four, right? And already we're seeing the cracks within the strong four, right?
True.
I think the strong four is this arc of this thing. I do not think the strong four is making it to the end. I think that
Can you name the members of the strong four just for us all?
Shaheen,
Okay.
David,
Yes.
Eva,
Uh-huh.
and Joe.
And
With
Joe.
Kyle, with
And
Tyler.
Kyle. It's kind of, isn't it the strong five?
No, he is an auxiliary member.
He wants-
Auxiliary.
Yes, he's an it doesn't matter if look, it's the perception. He's good with them, but is he a part of the group? I don't feel like he's a part of the group. He's a charter member, right? He's there. He's
He's a charter member. He's like first nine.
first nine. Yes, but there's a starting four. Okay. He might be the first off the bench, but he's not part of the starting lineup. Which is fine. This is good because you don't want to be in the starting lineup because that's where the spotlight is and that's where the shots are going to be fired.
Foster, do you agree that Kyle is the fifth member of this alliance and the strong four are the core group that Jaemeel has named?
Yeah, I'd probably say so. Just the way that Kyle, you could, from the tribe perspective, you could say, he's a fifth. But from a viewer perspective, though, he's kind of going along with it. But his true alliance is with Camilla. There's definitely a point where Kyle, and he started to do it tonight with Camilla, is like he's looking for a chance to take out one of them, and he's looking for an opportune time to do so. This was not the right time, it felt like. He almost was like the realization that he needs to kind of do it with like all of them at once, like with like Joe, because if we went back and Joe and Ava saw this, then he'd be a target on his back, right? So it almost like he needs to have that kind of safety net to say, well, I told you kind of thing, right? And like this was, so like the way Kyle and Camilla are going about it, they're going about it very methodically, it feels like, which, as long as they're not detected, like you said, Jaemeel, which they aren't, they could go very far. It just depends. Like, again, we've seen groups like this go extremely far, but then we've seen groups like this make the most minor slip up or mistake, and it could easily cost, like last season it was it was Sam and what was the other girl's name? There was those two that were like really strong, and then like they just kind of got too prominent in a sense, right? I can't remember the girl's name that he was riding with for a bit there.
Guinevere?
No. Before, like they were on the same tribe. I just can't remember her name. She was on the jury, like one of the first jury members.
Last season?
Oh yes, I remember. Yes, she was one of the first members to be eliminated. They were like a strong.
I would not be surprised if one of Kyle
Sierra?
or Camilla made it to final three. Yes, Sierra.
I think so.
I would not be surprised if, as of now, if Kyle or Camilla make it to final three.
Well, I do understand your point, Foster, and I think the dynamics is a little bit different because the way that their three tribe was kind of split up, they were put in a power position that was prominent and everyone was able to see it, so that when jury occurred, she was immediately targeted, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. They became too prominent and too visual.
Yes.
Like once again, like for Camilla and Kyle to pull off the move they did against Thomas could have backfired on them, but they were able to play it off like it. They didn't like they were like, oh, look how it worked out for us, right? Whereas like with Sam and Sierra, it was like, oh, like they move kind of thing. They're dangerous.
Do you think that they made the right decision not pulling the trigger on Shahid this episode? But
I do.
in retrospect, they kind of planted the seeds between the distrust between David and Shahid, so it was a better outcome in terms of a long-term game.
Yeah, I think that I really think that, for them to take out Shaheen, which is a great move, but to go back to Ava and Joe and not see that, then they would become targets, right? Because then David would kind of be like, oh, well, you know what I mean? So I just feel like there was too much of a risk involved with that. So again, like I think, like whether they intended it or not in planting these seeds and seeing the cracks, it was probably their best case scenario, especially when, Say? Yes, no,
Then
not
what?
Say. Cedric was the safe vote again, right? But now we've had like 3 safe votes in a row. I don't really know who's really, maybe Mitch, because he doesn't really have anybody, but I don't really know next who's the kind of obvious vote.
Sorry. Would it make more sense right now for Camilla to try and pick up Mitch?
Yes.
And kind of weaponize him, not really clue him in to the fact that she's working with Kyle. And
I
and
don't know if you could. I don't know if Mitch can be devious like that and keep it to himself.
it doesn't need to be devious. You only need Camilla to indicate to Mitch that they're gonna work together, and not really clue in to the fact that Camilla is also working with Kyle.
Oh yeah, like that's okay.
Not
That's
Tyler.
fair. I thought you meant like as a third kind of thing.
No.
But yeah,
But like
that,
an indirect third, third. And
I feel like
Mitch
Camilla
is
is
at
that-
the point looking for someone to grasp onto that he can kind of rely on and trust, because he's just been dangling alone. And really, the strong people should have picked him up and had him as the 5th or even the 6th person in their grouping.
Mhm.
Well,
No, I think it's almost like Kyle's going to work the strong, Camilla's going to work the weaker in a sense, right? In terms of like getting their ear, not necessarily.
But what does it matter at the strong and the weak? Why are we dividing alliances along these lines? Because only one person can have immunity.
We didn't divide it that way, though, Dave. That's how they've divided it.
True.
The how the narrative has presented the idea that strong means physically strong and weak means more strategic focused.
I don't know though, because there's also this like Mitch has gone to the 4, not really Eva this episode, but like Mitch went to them, Cedric went to them, like they want to be part of that. So is it just
Yeah,
like,
it's like they're envious. They're like, no, let us. We're strong too. Let us into your group.
There's that desire that, and who is it? Shaheen was like, they've all come to me, like they're all talking to me today. Like, I feel like I don't know if it's really that they've recognized within themselves that they are that, as opposed to the 4 that has recognized that, hey, we're strong together, we're stronger, right? Mitch definitely wants to be part of that group, and I was a little sad that like Joe's not pulling him in too,
Joe's a killer. Joe's not going for that. Oh, before I forget too, Shaheen, what did you like about his like a little chants every tonight where he's like hum
Dave, that is thank you in advance, Dave.
for
When you clip all of that together and use it as sound cues for the rest of the season, because it was marvelous. Look, I will say, kind of stepping away from the actual game and the meta part of the game that we're seeing, this is what I think the future of Survivor is, realistically, in the sense that it isn't this overproduced kind of show where it's like it presents a narrative. I think like what we kind of saw during the challenge is what Survivor is eventually going to be post maybe 51. where it's like, is this the part, like people are gonna reference specific thing, and like Jeff is gonna respond. It's like, this is gonna be, we didn't get the hey apply to Survivor segment because they did it during the challenge,
They
right?
did it during the challenge. Yeah.
Right, and
He's like, let's do that right now. You know, I can get this out of the way.
Yeah, like that was fun and interesting, and I think that Survivor should open itself up. It's an institution, and when it is able to kind of recognize that people know, right? People know the formula, so let's play with that in the sense of like how we present it. It's seamless. Commercials aren't commercials anymore, right? We've moved past that in, was it Web 2.0? Like the advertisement is also the content, right? And we saw it in this episode, a prime example. And is Shahid going to be a member of the recording artist union? Because technically he made part of the soundtrack up himself. So he should be getting royalties from the soundtrack of this season.
He should be in perpetuity as well.
Yes, that's what Bryan Cranston did that in I believe Malcolm in the Middle. He whistled various like tunes, not like actual real tunes, but like he made up tunes, and he was able to copyright them, and he gets checks from Malcolm in the Middle because he technically recorded part of the score himself.
Well, yeah. So everyone thought it was funny with the Shaheen then of it all.
So great.
But he's like, that's pretty good. That's pretty close. Jeff Probst says, you know, I was there when that guy recorded that. You're a dead ringer for it. So yeah, that was pretty funny. Okay, let's get into also the two votes. Okay, so the Say group was first. They tried to misdirect us a little bit to believe that it could be Mitch going here instead of Say. But I don't know how serious that was. You know, like they spent a good amount of time, but ultimately that's not even, he doesn't get one vote against him because they block her vote. Who had the block a vote? Was it Mitch?
Was Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Say would have voted Mitch.
Obviously.
Right. So I don't know, like Say's exit interview here was, you know, they were right to get me out because I was going to come and get them. I'm like, with what? With what? What were you coming with? But here, let's listen to it here.
I got voted out, but that's probably because I'm a threat. I think that they are obsessed with me, first of all, and these hoochies are lucky that they got me out when they did. If they let me get any further in this game, they would have been out of the game as soon as I got the chance.
Honestly, if I was
with-
voting her out, I would have put Say less, right, on the parchment.
What do we think about her calling everyone hoochies? These hoochies were right to give you out.
Whoa.
She is the worst type. No offense to you, Say, because I know this is a character that's being presented. I understand that. But the character of Say that we've seen on the show is the worst. Is the worst type of person, the new person, where they're so delusional and they're obsessed with the attention. And you can see how it just feeds your ego. That being an annoying little brat, right? That, you know, everyone like is talking about means, oh, everyone's obsessed with me because, you know, they're talking about me. They're talking about me because you've been a little bit of a shit. So
Yeah, she's never sort of aware of this idea that people aren't loving her company. Of course, that was that scene earlier in the episode with her and Shaheen, where, you know, he's like, when Shaheen's describing in his confessional how Say communicates, right? It's, you know, like, Say, if you come to her and say you have a problem, then that's, you know, she'd rather you do that. But if you, you know, if she's not fitting in right away and she just like, you're not my people, you're not with me, then who cares, you know? And she kind of thinks and acts, Foster, differently than most, not just Survivor players, but people in general.
No, it's a little bit of I'll be straight honest, like a little bit of delusion and a little bit of ego. It's I don't know. Like again, like once again, like Jaemeel said, like they edit to me have perception of the player, right? And whether this was say the player or say the person or both, it wasn't a good look. But she kind of said her words though were very like oblivious to how the rest of the tribes viewed her, even like with Cedric. It's like and but she always would basically say oh, like you hurt me, I'll never forget. In the confessional. But then she's like, I don't want to be fake. And then she's like, oh, I want to just move on with Mary. You know what I mean? Like it's very contradicting, very the word just escaped me.
Double speak.
Yeah, like it'll come to me.
There's a lot of hypocrisy in what she's saying, where she's like, I don't want to be fake, but I'm gonna lie. I don't. I want to work with this person, but I can't trust anyone. It's like, what is it? Like the duality of say.
Yeah. Well, Becky, will you miss her as a character on the show?
No.
No. Okay, just checking.
No, I'm good. I just felt like she's just so like. If you ever want to see how like someone can do it so wrong, she's a shining example. Like right from the jump, like she's just so all over the place. Like her game wasn't even strong. It was just
no one was gonna vote for her. She was gonna be a goat. If she lasted longer, she was just gonna be a goat.
Mind you, there was times where I was like, maybe she'll
when she was
go
interacting with Mary. Kind of when they had like their making up kind of thing.
And then I'm like, okay, maybe she's not that bad. Like maybe she'll actually get to like closer to the end. But then like it just all fell apart the minute Mary left, and she's just back to it like just all over the place. Like I'm glad she's gone. I don't think she'd be very good on the jury. She'd just do whatever.
Yeah. And that's the end of Say in this episode. I thought that the way more interesting group was the Purple group and their tribal council, and I guess the dynamics leading up to that vote, because it looks like Shaheen has some serious threat here to be voted out, right? But you know, I don't know how much of this is they're just playing this up in the edit, and how much of this was really a reality leading into this tribal. But Camilla and Kyle seem pretty serious about it. Of course, they can get Cedric's vote, and they could force a tie. And what they don't really show us, I think, in this lead up here or in the tribal itself is like, what are Mary and David thinking specifically? Like they're the votes I think that really this comes down to. And I think like, what do Kyle and Camilla think that they can accomplish? If they get Shaheen out here, then is it the right time to do this? Are they going to piss off his allies, like the Joes and whoever, like Eva and them? Or, is this a good time to get a big threat like Shaheen? And I was kind of digging it. I was like, yeah, this is the right time to get someone like Shaheen out. He's a really big threat in this game. You're right to recognize that. And I think getting out Cedric right now is kind of boring. It's the safe thing to do. And that's not what we get here.
I think from a television production standpoint, getting rid of Cedric is the best right now, because they're not going to really have double episodes later on for the rest of the season. So just imagine like an episode ending with now the fifth person remaining is Cedric. And the fanfare that comes from it. This at least paired with Say is like a better outcome, and there's more interesting characters to be voted out. That's one. On the second side, I think that using Cedric to kind of drive a wedge between David and Shahid is a stronger play than getting out Shahid, because you want to taint the well, right? And if you're able to do that with that strong team and form cracks, make them think, hey, maybe this plan for all strong people to make it to the end isn't going to work because we all can't be trusted, right? And Joe has a strong sense of morals, but I think he's smart enough to recognize that not everyone shares his values.
Well, okay. All well put there, Jaemeel. Let's get to Cedric's exit interview, and just see if what were we missing? What was Cedric thinking here?
I got another experience with Survivor. I got my torch snuffed by Jeff Probst, which was surprising. I had more game in me to play, but being the first jury member, that's going to mean I have some say in who actually gets the ultimate prize. It's still a great responsibility, and it's one that I'm going to probably give a lot of thought to over the next few days.
So maybe I'm wrong. I apologize. It was like only one vote for Shahid, and the rest were Cedric, because David's vote just was spelled SED, and I was confused by that.
It was that's right, exactly how you put it there. Cedric he voted for Shaheen, and Cedric had his name spelled probably 5 different ways otherwise in this tribe of 6. So like his exit interview to me is so, I don't know, just pathetic. I don't mean that in a harsh way, but he's just like, well, I get to be a juror, and there's at least some responsibility in that. And I guess there's some silver lining. Like, there's no like, damn it, I thought I was going to win $1 million, and this sucks, and I
didn't need money. Dave, if you asked me, Jaemeel, please tell me what Cedric just said. I was listening. I was watching the screen. I have no clue what he said. It is absolutely unmemorable, right? Unremarkable, unmemorable. He was just there.
Foster, do you agree? Are you going to miss Cedric as an entertainer on this show?
Not at all. Not at all.
But well, he was the first overall pick by Sean in our draft.
Was he really?
Yes, he was. Sean.
How do you explain?
Time to bring up our draft board, Dave.
Well, I have the draft board, yes, available here. So, yeah, well, I can share it if you'd like.
In the meantime, while Dave is getting the draft information, Foster, are you going to buy the Men of Survivor 48 calendar? Obviously, with David with multiple months this time, especially doing his classic pose of like leaning back with one hand.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say about me, Jaemeel?
I'm just saying that
it's 2025. Even if I was, there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
You appreciate strength. I didn't say that you were getting like any type of gratification from your nether region from it. I'm just saying that you appreciate it. That's all.
He appreciates the gratifications in the nether regions. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that he doesn't necessarily get the gratification from the nether region from watching.
It could be other regions.
I'll tell you straight up, Jaemeel, he makes me feel inadequate. So I will not be getting the poster or the calendar or whatever. I don't need reminders.
You crush him in the beard game, right? So
yes.
don't
I bow to your power in the beards.
Yes. You are valuable, and I see you.
And thankfully, that would not have much extra weight to my bucket if I was on the if I was on that, that challenge.
Holding that crank on Survivor. Okay, let's look at our draft board. So yeah, Sean has lost his first overall pick. He still has Chrissy, who he of course was saddled with. Although I don't know if I can see Chrissy winning this right now, but she's not doing too bad.
Oh yeah, it's actually good. Let's. I want to really quickly because I mentioned it earlier with Chrissy. Like she really screwed herself in the tribal tonight, saying how she's like, I'm gonna lie, but not right now. Like she's like, this is how I need to win, and it's like you're just.
She thinks she gave her game away too much.
Well, it's just she just played very, very. She's been very quiet, and then the one time she really kind of speaks, it's just very sloppy.
Yeah, she was, of course, in the group that voted out Say tonight, and she had it kind of easy so far. But I think she's in that group that's not with Shaheen and Joe and all them, and I think that she's not doing herself any favors right now by not making some kind of an alliance. She's too much of a floater, in my opinion.
People did pick Joe; it's just lower on.
Oh.
Okay, Foster has Eva and Mitch, both doing well. Jane has Shaheen. Who I think is, if he makes it deep in the game, he's a big threat. I have Kyle still left in the game. Jen has Star. Star is kind of a. I don't know what to make of Star. I don't know if I see Star.
Comic relief now. I don't really know what else to think.
Yeah, Star is more of a punchline artist than a player. It feels like. But I don't know. Like Star could do something still. Like I think she could be forgotten about, and then she'll come out of nowhere. Daryl lost Say tonight, but he still has Joe. Joe's such a Daryl pick.
Yeah, such a Daryl pick.
It's such a Daryl pick. Jeff has Mary left. Mary, I don't know. Mary's doing okay. I like Mary. I think if Mary gets to final 3, she could be a threat. She can talk, so I wouldn't count Mary out. Camilla, I like a lot. Jaemeel on Team Jaemeel for life. Of course he lost Kevin.
No offense to Sam. Am I still saddled with the Gilligan's Island if I win thing? I think that's done.
Well, it was for life.
For life.
It was Team Jaemeel for life, and I was like, well, it's for life, so I can't undo it.
The threat of me winning is always in effect that you might have to do a Gilligan's Island podcast.
Well, don't let Sam get wind of this. That if somehow Jaemeel wins a draft, that this is going to happen. But yes, there was a bet at one point about me having to do a Gilligan's Island podcast if somebody won Big Brother, wasn't it? And then
I think it was Big Brother, yeah.
And they almost did. They came like 3rd or something. But it almost happened. I had to do a Gilligan's Island podcast. And Amanda, lastly, has David still in the game. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's the who if you could predict the winner right now, Becky, who would it be?
I don't know.
Who you want, or who do you think will win?
Who do you
want to win?
think? Yeah, not who you want, but who do you think?
Okay.
At this point, Camilla has no one seems to suspect her. She's pretty much flying under the radar at this point.
Yeah.
But honestly, it may be David, because he's so strong. But yeah.
Yeah, Foster, same question.
I think everyone else has.
Yeah, I was thinking Camilla as well. Becky, I feel like Kyle is most acceptable to be targeted over Camilla out of those two. But if we're going for a different vote, for my picks, I don't feel very safe, to be honest. I feel like Joe would be kept longer than Ava, and Mitch is kind of, for lack of a better term, like a loose end right now, right? There's no real
Mitch feels expendable, but also a threat if you let him get too deep.
Yeah,
so,
he's a priority right now, priority threat. I feel like
But I feel like players like Joe are we can't put Mitch off for too long. So if we don't get a Mitch next vote, it has to be the vote after that. Because if you let him get into the final 6, it's a whole other thing, right? So right now they're at 12, or I guess 11. No, wait, they were at 12. Now they're down to 10, right? At this point.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll be down to 9 after the next one. Okay, and for me, I don't know. I agree with Camilla feeling like a likely pick, but I don't know. I feel like Joe's got a great potential. I think Joe's got a story in this season, and I could see him going well. Maybe Eva. I don't know. It's hard to say, but let's have a look at the next episode and see if it gives us any clues, everybody.
David is losing his mind.
It's going to cause a rift between all of us.
Next time on Survivor.
What the is going on?
Go for the head, man. Go for Joe.
You know what? This. David is trying to flip it to you.
This guy is the biggest idiot on this beach.
That is the move.
Well, who said David before? That David was going to win. Okay, Becky, I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
So.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
I think that the person that David and Kyle are talking about, and Kyle gives that face, I think that David is trying to is targeting Camilla, and it seems that is the focus, and they're scrambling to try to redirect things. And that's what the point of the episode is.
I think this is like based on everything we saw in that preview. It seems like David goes a little off the deep end here, and maybe goes mad. And then that usually ends up with you getting targeted. Right back.
Well, I think he's reacting to the information that Camilla gave him about Shahid, and then he believes Shahid, so that's why he's going after Camilla. And now they're trying to paint a narrative to tie up the loose end with David.
What information?
That she said that she saw Shahid stay back after the last idol was used, and he was slow to come back to the well, more or less heavily implying that he may have an idol.
That information. Okay, sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't know. Foster, do you have any other final thoughts looking into the next week? Like, what are the possibilities here? Is David going to play his hand?
It's always about misdirect, right? So I don't like they talk about David, like they talked about Ava a few episodes ago, like they talked about Shaheen this week, right? So I feel like it's just a misdirect. I don't think David's necessarily going to be out next week.
Okay. Well, we're going to see everybody. We're going to say goodnight. We've gone through all the things. We'll be back next time. What is the next episode called? I always like looking ahead to give us any clues about it. Maybe it's like David is getting voted out. Maybe that's what the next episode's called. That would be too much of a giveaway, really. This episode, of course, was called Survivor Smack Talk, which was more about the smack talk going on there with Kyle and David. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And a little bit of Kyle and David, as you said, and Eva and Joe.
Yeah.
Right. The next episode name is not out there right now. It's not released, so we'll have to speculate on that for now. So,
if you want to speculate, I think the next episode's title is called Everybody's Got a Single, but I could be wrong. That is just the title of UFP's own Michael Chan's new single that you can listen to on Spotify.
What's it called again?
Everybody's Got a Single.
Everybody's Got a Single by Michael Chan. Go listen to it right now on Spotify. Everybody.
Featuring Gracie Ann.
From the United Federation of Podcasts, it's Michael Chan.
Yep.
What's his podcast called? Disturbance?
No. Heard Noise Must Investigate.
Yes, exactly. So go check that out as well in the United Federation of Podcasts. Tomorrow on Live Long and Podcast, we're covering Star Trek The Next Generation.
The Real?
No, we're doing Contagion tomorrow. With the Romulans, the Iconian Gateway, all that. That should be a lot of fun. And we have a lot going on over on the Star Trek channel right now. If you're into Star Trek.
But at the same time, if you love Star Trek, go back and watch the little First Contact 2025 video that was made with members of the Live Long and Podcast crew as they talk about their Star Trek experiences.
Yes, I was on there with Justin and Adam talking all about that. And then I had an interview with Steve Shives.
Yes, that also
minutes later. I did them back to back, so it was like 3 hours of podcasting marathon. Yes. You think this is tiring? So it was great. Go listen to those. Of course, check out True Currency wherever you get your audio podcasts.
Yes. If you've heard the first episode, go back to the beginning. Listen to it again. Don't worry. The second, third, and fourth episodes are dropping shortly.
There you go. Trivial Debates. I was just on doing a reboot episode. If you didn't know, I might win. You don't know. Go find out.
Never know.
You never know. All right. Well, we're going to sign off for tonight. How about we'll go out on some kind of a clip here, something random, and we'll see you next time, everybody. You have a great night. Thanks to Foster, Becky, and Jaemeel. And regrets from Jason R. Phillips. Happy birthday to him out there.
Happy birthday. Yes.
He's celebrating his 40th birthday in Chicago with his wife tonight.
Yes.
And Jeff Mader's serving drinks somewhere. So, we'll see you next time, everybody. Okay, have a good one.
Baby back rib.
No.
Potato salad.
Yes, potato salad.
Corn on the cob.
No, shut up.
beer and soft drinks.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.